The Winchester's report echoed across the Nevada frontier, shattering the silence of the snowbound valley. Cole Hollister worked the lever action with practiced hands, the metal cold against his calloused fingers. Through the rifle's iron sights, he tracked movement among the distant pines. Blood stained the pristine snow, not his own. Another shot cracked from the darkness. Cole ducked behind the weathered oak of his cabin porch as splinters exploded where his head had been a heartbeat earlier. His breath formed measured clouds in the frozen air. After 20 years of gunfights, he'd learned that panic killed faster than bullets. 3 days earlier, he hadn't expected to be fighting for his life. Then again, he hadn't expected to find a half-frozen Apache woman clutching his fence line. Either, or hear 5 words that would change everything. Take me as your wife, or let me die. Winter of 1883 cut deeper than most. Cole had survived the great blizzard of 80-81 that decimated entire cattle herds across the territory, but this bitter cold carried its own unique savagery. His modest ranch sat isolated along the Nevada-Utah border, exactly how he preferred it. No neighbors for 3 miles except for Jim Carter, a one-armed Confederate veteran who minded his own business almost as diligently as Cole minded his. At 42, Cole Hollister wore the hard lines of a man who'd witnessed too much of humanity's darker nature. His face, weathered by sun and wind, bore the permanent squint of a marksman who'd sighted down a rifle barrel more times than he could count. The Civil War had claimed his youth at Shiloh and Antietam, where he'd served as a Union scout with a reputation for returning from missions other men didn't survive. What remained now was stark and simple: 200 acres of hardscrabble ranch, a cabin built with his own hands, 30 head of cattle, 2 horses, and a collection of memories he'd rather forget, particularly the raid 5 years ago that left his younger brother Daniel dead on this very land. The Winchester 73 had been Daniel's once. The gun that won the West, folks called it. Cole kept it oiled and ready, the brass cartridges gleaming like tiny sentinels against catastrophe. 16 rounds fully loaded. That evening, as twilight draped his property in deepening shadows, something changed. The constant moan of winter wind shifted, carrying an unfamiliar sound. Cole froze mid-stride, head cocked, listening with the hyper-awareness that had kept him alive behind enemy lines during the war. There it came again. Not animal, not wind. Human. He retrieved the Winchester from its place beside the door, checking the action by instinct. Following the sound, he moved across his property, boots crunching through snow that reached mid-calf. 50 yards out, he found them. Tracks in the fresh powder. Too small for a man, uneven in spacing. Beside them, dark spatters marked a trail. Blood. He followed the sign to his fence line. There, collapsed against the lowest rail, lay a woman. Her black hair hung in frozen tendrils around a face marked by exhaustion and something worse, the particular kind of suffering that comes from human cruelty. Her dress was torn down one side, exposing bruising along her collarbone. Rawhide rope burns circled her wrists, raw and crusted with blood. She was Apache Chiricahua by the pattern woven into what remained of her clothes. Cole estimated her age at 25, though hardship made such judgments difficult. She lifted her head with visible effort when his shadow fell across her, eyes finding his through a glaze of pain and determination. "Please," she whispered, voice breaking, "take me as your wife, or let me die." Cole understood immediately. In Apache culture, a woman could seek protection through marriage. She wasn't proposing. She was requesting sanctuary in the only terms her desperate situation allowed. He knelt beside her, keeping the Winchester balanced across his knee, scanning the tree line behind her. "Who's after you?" "Blackwood," she managed through chattering teeth. The name hit Cole like a physical blow. Marcus Blackwood, notorious bounty hunter, rumored killer for hire. The memories crashed back. A gunfight in Dodge City 5 years ago. Blackwood's younger brother drawing on Cole over a bounty dispute. the man dying in the street dust. Marcus swearing vengeance as Cole rode away. How many men? Cole asked, already calculating odds. 7, armed. Her eyes began to close, consciousness slipping. Cole lifted her as gently as her injuries would allow. She weighed almost nothing in his arms, evidence of starvation to accompany her other torments. As he carried her toward his cabin, he noted 3 sets of tracks approaching from the east. Blackwood's men had been here already, searching. They'd return. "What's your name?" he asked, kicking the cabin door wider. "Amara," she whispered against his coat. Inside, Cole laid her carefully on his bed, stoked the fire in the iron stove, and moved with practiced efficiency. He heated water, gathered clean rags, and assessed his meager medical supplies. After seeing the fear flash across her face when he approached with the bandages, he stepped back. "I need to tend those wounds," he said evenly, "but I won't touch you wrong. You have my word." Amara studied his face, searching for deceit. Finding none, she allowed him to clean the worst injuries, accepting the clean shirt he offered as replacement for her torn dress. While she changed behind a privacy blanket, Cole considered what he knew about Marcus Blackwood. The man was feared throughout the territories, ruthless, methodical, and connected to corrupt officials across 3 states. If Blackwood was hunting this woman, he wouldn't stop until he found her. And if he learned she was with Cole Hollister, the man who'd killed his brother, the hunt would become personal. "Blackwood's men took you prisoner?" Cole asked when Amara emerged, swimming in his spare shirt but looking marginally warmer. She nodded, hands steady around the tin cup of coffee he'd given her. "After raid on Trading Post, they kill everyone. Keep only me." Cole understood without needing details. Men like Blackwood often captured Apache women during legitimate bounty operations, claiming they were taking dangerous prisoners when in reality they were taking slaves. No marshal would question it, not when it involved Apache. "How long did they hold you?" 2 moons, she said, eyes fixed on the fire. "I run when storm comes. They follow 3 days." Cole moved to the window, scanning the darkness. If Blackwood had tracked her for 3 days through a blizzard, he wouldn't be far behind. The storm might have covered her tracks temporarily, but by morning, his decision was made before he consciously formed it. Cole gathered ammunition from the cabinet beside the fireplace, checking each round before loading it into cartridge belts. "You're staying here tonight," he said. "Tomorrow we'll figure what comes next." Amara watched his preparations, understanding beyond words. "You know this Blackwood," she observed. "Yes," Cole acknowledged, pausing with a handful of shotgun shells. "I killed his brother. Fair fight, but Marcus didn't see it that way." "Then I bring death to your door," she whispered. Cole resumed his work, voice matter-of-fact. "Death's been circling my door for years. Makes no difference who brings it." Later that night, while checking the perimeter of his property one final time, Cole found it, a length of rope still tied to a pine branch half a mile from his cabin. Looking closer, he discovered a small camp had been made here, recently abandoned. Blackwood had kept Amara tethered like an animal, close enough that she'd managed to escape to the nearest shelter. Cole's cabin, which meant Blackwood knew exactly where to look. Dawn broke reluctantly across the snowbound landscape. Cole hadn't slept. He'd spent the night alternating between window watches and maintaining his weapons. The Winchester, his Colt single-action Army revolver, and the shotgun loaded with double-aught buckshot. The old cavalry scout in him knew preparation meant survival. He'd moved furniture to create defensive positions, stored extra ammunition at each one, and mapped every angle of attack on the cabin. The war had taught him to control your battlefield when you couldn't avoid the fight. Amara woke immediately alert, watching as Cole disassembled and oiled his Colt Peacemaker. The revolver had accompanied him since Antietam, its walnut grip worn smooth by years of handling. "You were soldier," she observed. "Union scout." Cole didn't elaborate further. Some memories were better left buried. He completed reassembling the revolver with a series of precise clicks as hoofbeats approached from the east. A single rider. Cole moved to the window, rifle ready. Through the frost-edged glass, he recognized Jim Carter's stooped figure. The old Confederate veteran had lost his left arm at Gettysburg, but managed his ranch alone through sheer stubbornness. Jim reined in at a respectful distance as Cole stepped onto the porch, Winchester held casually but ready. "Morning, Cole," Jim called. "Thought you should know. Group of riders passed my place yesterday, looking for an Apache woman." His right hand rested near his own holstered revolver, not threatening, just cautious. "Is that so?" Cole's face revealed nothing. Jim shifted in his saddle. Leader called himself Blackwood, mean-looking bunch. He paused and studying Cole. "They're circling back this way today. Appreciate the warning." "Cole?" Jim hesitated. "They've got papers, signed by the territorial marshal." "Forgeries," Cole said flatly. "Blackwood buys officials cheaper than whiskey." "Maybe so, but that won't matter to any posse he raises." Jim leaned forward. "Whatever you're protecting, it worth dying for." Cole thought of Amara's wounds, the rope burns on her wrists, the terror in her eyes when she first saw him approach. "Some things are." Jim sighed heavily. "Figured you'd say that." He straightened in his saddle. "I'll ride to Carson City, fetch the real marshal. Won't make it back before tomorrow, earliest." "Obliged," Cole said. "Don't thank me yet." Jim gathered his reins. "And Cole, if it goes bad, head for Cottonwood Canyon. I'll look for you there." After Jim departed, Cole returned inside to find Amara examining an older Navy Colt in his weapons cabinet. It had belonged to Daniel. "You know how to use that?" he asked. "My husband taught me, before raiders killed him." She demonstrated handling the weapon with unexpected competence, checking the cylinder, sighting down the barrel. "Good," Cole said, taking the pistol back and loading it properly. "This stays with you. Last resort only." He handed her the loaded weapon, then pried up a loose floorboard near the bed, revealing a narrow space beneath, just wide enough for a person to hide. "If they break in and I can't stop them, you get in here." Cole led her through the cabin, explaining its defensive strengths and weaknesses. While showing her the back exit, he spotted fresh tracks in the snow beyond the woodpile. Someone had been watching, recently enough that the blowing snow hadn't filled the impressions. Blackwood had found them. Right on cue, a voice called from beyond the front porch. "Cole Hollister, come on out. Let's talk like civilized men." Cole positioned himself beside the window and called back. "Nothing civilized about hunting a woman. Blackwood? That what she told you? That she's innocent?" Blackwood's voice carried a mocking edge. "Apache bitch killed 2 of my men before we caught her." "Self-defense isn't murder," Cole replied. "And I know your methods." Through a gap in the curtain, Cole counted 4 men, Blackwood front and center on a tall black horse, 3 others spread out with rifles ready. The rest would be circling to the back, standard Blackwood tactics. Marcus Blackwood sat easily in his saddle, seemingly unconcerned about presenting a target. He wore a long leather coat despite the cold, 2 Colts holstered at his hips. The scar that bisected his right cheek pulled his mouth into a permanent half sneer. "She's my property, Cole. Territorial law says so. No man owns another. War settled that." Blackwood spat into the snow. "Always the righteous Union man. Tell you what, hand her over. We'll call things square between us. Even forget about my brother. And if I don't, then I burn you out and take her anyway, after I put a bullet in whatever's left of you." Cole weighed his options. 7 men, well armed. The odds were poor unless... "Give me an hour," Cole called. "Let me send her on her way. She won't last 2 days in this cold anyway." Blackwood considered this. 1 hour, then we come in shooting. As the bounty hunters withdrew temporarily, Cole turned to find Amara watching him, the Navy Colt steady in her hand. "You're not sending me away," she stated. It wasn't a question. "No," Cole agreed. "That's what Blackwood expects. We're doing something else entirely." Cole's plan was desperate but sound. The storm was returning. He could feel it in the changing wind, see it in the darkening western sky. A blizzard would erase tracks and limit visibility, perfect conditions for escape. He worked quickly, showing Amara how to wrap cloth around the horses' hooves to muffle their sound in the snow. While she prepared the mounts, Cole gathered essential supplies: ammunition, food, medical kit, compass. "We'll leave through the back once the storm picks up," he explained. "Head north toward the ridge. There's a line shack there, stocked with supplies." "What if they follow?" Amara asked, tightening a saddle cinch with practiced hands. "They will," Cole said grimly. "Blackwood's a tracker almost as good as I was. That's why we'll split up at Cottonwood Creek." Amara's eyes flashed. "No, together or not at all." Before Cole could argue, a rifle shot cracked outside. The bullet splintered the window frame, a warning, not an attempt to kill. Yet, "Time's up, Blackwood," Cole shouted. "Getting mighty cold out here," came the reply. More shots followed, peppering the cabin from multiple angles. Cole returned fire methodically, targeting muzzle flashes in the growing twilight. A grunt of pain told him he'd found a mark. They escaped through the rear door during the heaviest fire, when all attention was focused on the front of the cabin. The storm had intensified, wind driving snow horizontally across their path. Cole led by memory more than sight, keeping to the tree line where snow hadn't drifted as deeply. For an hour they rode in silence, broken only by the creak of leather and the labored breathing of their mounts. When they reached Cottonwood Creek, Cole reined in, listening. Nothing but wind. "We continue together," Amara insisted, picking up their earlier argument. Before Cole could respond, a distant crack echoed through the canyon, a branch breaking under weight. Someone was following. "Ridge path," Cole directed tersely. "I'll draw them along the creek." "No," Amara stated firmly. "I will not be responsible for your death." A shot rang out, kicking up snow nearby. Cole wheeled his horse toward the creek bed, exposing himself deliberately. "Go," he commanded. "I'll meet you at the line shack." The gambit worked. 3 riders emerged from the snow-filled darkness, following his trail down the creek. Cole fired back periodically, leading them deeper into the canyon, away from Amara's escape route. When his horse stumbled in a deep drift, Cole knew he'd push the animal as far as possible. He dismounted behind a cluster of boulders, slapped the horse onward without him, and settled into position with both rifle and pistol ready. The pursuers approached cautiously, having lost sight of him in the storm. Cole took careful aim at the lead rider and squeezed the Winchester's trigger. The man tumbled from his saddle. The other 2 scattered, returning fire blindly. Cole worked the lever action, but pain lanced through his left shoulder as a bullet found him. Rock splinters cut his cheek as he ducked back. Pinned down, outnumbered, with night falling fast. Not how he'd planned to die, but a man rarely got to choose. A shot rang out from behind the bounty hunters, from a direction they hadn't expected. One jerked sideways, clutching his arm. Cole recognized the distinctive report of the Navy Colt. Amara had doubled back. The distraction gave Cole the opening he needed. He rose from cover and put a round through the wounded man's chest. The 3rd hunter fired wildly before retreating into the storm. "Told you to take the ridge!" Cole shouted as Amara appeared beside him, reloading with steady hands. "And I told you, together or not at all." Her eyes held no room for argument. They collected the bounty hunters' weapons and one of their horses, abandoning the site before reinforcements arrived. The line shack was still 4 miles north, a desperate journey through deepening snow and plunging temperatures. By the time the small cabin appeared through the storm, Cole was swaying in the saddle, blood freezing to his coat sleeve. Inside, Amara worked quickly, building a fire, tending his wound. The bullet had carved a deep channel through muscle, painful but not immediately fatal if infection could be prevented. "Why does Blackwood want you so badly?" Cole asked as she bandaged his shoulder. Amara's hands stilled momentarily. "I escaped once before. He lost face, and—" she hesitated. "I heard things. Plans. Names of men who pay him for dirty work. Men in government." Cole understood. She wasn't just a captive, she was a witness. Far more dangerous to Blackwood alive than dead. They spent an uneasy night, taking turns watching through the shack's single window. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving a crystalline landscape of untouched white. No tracks marred the perfection. They were momentarily safe. Cole stood at the window, arm in a crude sling, watching the rising sun ignite ice crystals across the valley. "Blackwood won't stop," he said quietly. "We need to end this." He outlined his plan. Simple, brutal, effective. Instead of waiting for Blackwood to find them, they would circle back and ambush the bounty hunters at the narrowest part of Cottonwood Canyon. By mid-afternoon, they'd reach the canyon overlook, a perfect position to command the passage below. Cole surveyed the approach through the Winchester scope. Nothing yet, but Blackwood wouldn't be far behind. "When this is over," he said, breaking a long silence, "what will you do?" Amara considered the question. "My people are scattered. My husband dead. Perhaps head south to Mexico." Cole nodded, understanding the appeal of starting fresh, where no one knew your past. Before he could respond, movement caught his eye. Riders approaching the canyon mouth. 4, with Blackwood in the lead. "Take position behind that boulder," he directed Amara. "Wait for my shot." The bounty hunters entered the canyon cautiously, rifles ready, scanning the cliffs above. Cole let them advance to the narrowest point before settling his sights on Blackwood's chest. He exhaled slowly and squeezed the trigger. At the last possible moment, Blackwood's horse sidestepped, causing the bullet to miss its mark. It struck the rider beside him instead. Chaos erupted as the bounty hunters sought cover, returning fire. Amara opened up with the Navy Colt, forcing one man back into the open where Cole's second shot found him. 2 down, 2 remaining, including Blackwood. Blackwood charged his horse up a narrow trail toward their position, his remaining man providing covering fire. Cole struggled to bring the Winchester to bear with his wounded shoulder. "He's coming up," Cole warned. Amara fired repeatedly, driving Blackwood temporarily back behind an outcropping. But the Navy Colt held only 6 rounds, and she'd fired 5. "Last bullet," she said tensely. "Make it count," Cole replied, finally steadying the rifle. When Blackwood emerged again, both weapons fired simultaneously. The bounty hunter jerked backward, a red bloom spreading across his chest, but his own bullet found its mark, tearing through Cole's already wounded shoulder. Cole collapsed behind the boulder, pain overwhelming his senses. Through graying vision, he saw Amara frantically trying to stem the blood flow. "Blackwood?" he managed to ask. "Dead," she confirmed. "Others retreating." Cole nodded, consciousness fading. His last thought before darkness claimed him was that he hadn't expected to survive this day. Spring brought the first green shoots to Cole Hollister's ranch. 2 months had passed since the showdown in Cottonwood Canyon. Inside the cabin, Cole sat at the hand-carved table, carefully cleaning the Winchester. His left arm, though healed enough for light work, would never be as strong as before. The territorial marshal's investigation had confirmed what they already knew. Blackwood had been operating outside the law, bribing officials, falsifying bounty papers. With his death, the corrupted officials who'd supported him were being removed. Amara was officially cleared of any wrongdoing. Self-defense justified everything. Cole set the rifle aside and retrieved a document from the sideboard drawer. He placed it on the table as Amara entered from outside, carrying fresh water from the creek. What's that? She asked, setting down the buckets. Deed papers, Cole explained. Had my lawyer in Carson City draw them up. Amara opened the envelope, confusion crossing her face as she examined the document. Half ownership, Cole said. Equal partners. Why? She asked, genuine bewilderment in her voice. Cole stood and moved to the cabin door, pushing it open to reveal the ranch spread before them. Spring sunlight bathed the land in golden light. My brother Daniel died trying to protect this land, he said quietly. He believed something I'd forgotten. That land means nothing without people worth sharing it with. He turned to face her. This isn't payment or charity. You fought for this place, same as me. Bled for it. It's yours by right. Amara studied him for a long moment. And if I still go south? Then you sell your half, take the money, start fresh. Cole shrugged his good shoulder. Your choice. That's what this is about. Choices. Something Blackwood never gave you. Outside, the Nevada wind carried the scent of sage and new grass. Inside, silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken possibilities. Amara folded the deed carefully and set it on the table. She moved to the weapons cabinet and removed the Navy Colt, now officially hers. With practiced hands, she checked the cylinder, loaded it fully, and holstered it at her hip. Jim brought news yesterday, she said. Blackwood's cousin was seen in Arizona territory, looking for the woman who killed his kin. Cole's weathered face hardened. He'll come here eventually. Yes, Amara agreed, her voice steady. And we'll be waiting. She stepped to the doorway beside him, both of them looking out over the land that now belonged to them equally. Not as man and wife in the traditional sense, but as something perhaps more meaningful on the frontier. Partners who had chosen each other when the world offered nothing but cold and darkness. Take me as your wife or let me die, she said, echoing her desperate words from that snowbound night. I'm glad you found another way. Cole nodded, the ghost of a smile breaking through his usual stoicism. Equal ground, only thing worth fighting for. Together they stepped outside into the spring sunlight, two battle-scarred survivors standing side by side on land they defended with blood and determination. Whatever came next, Blackwood's vengeful cousin, harsh winters, or simply the daily struggle of ranch life, they would face it as they had faced everything else, standing equal, standing together. By choice, not coercion or circumstance. In the harsh reality of the American frontier, that was the truest freedom anyone could hope to find. The end.